No one has the balls to stand up like I'm doing right now. Let's stop the crap already. We're all Americans. We're all equal. I don't see black. I don't see Asian. I don't see anything but American. Welcome back to One Tough Podcast. I'm Bo Dietl. This episode is probably one of the most important I've ever done because it's our last podcast before the most important election day. What happens next week will decide the direction of New York City for decades to come. For months, I've been warning you about what's at stake, and now it's here. The polls are closing. They're closing in. The campaigns are in overdrive, and every single vote and every single dollar matters. Our city is hanging by a thread. You've seen it, the crime, the homelessness, the chaos. And now we've got a socialist candidate, Zohran Mamdani. He's leading in the polls and promising to reimagine New York into something unrecognizable. This isn't something abstract and it's a political fight. This is something that is real. If Mamdani wins, he'll gut law enforcement, freeze rents, raise taxes, and drive out every job creator left in the 5 boroughs. That's why I started Anyone But Mamdani PAC. And it's still running strong right now. Almost 1 million people have watched it. We're reaching out to voters across the city, spreading the truth and exposing the radical agenda that threatens everything we've all built. But we cannot stop now. Every contribution counts. Every share, every click, every dollar makes a difference. If you haven't already, visit nycabm.com. That's nycabm.com to learn more. Donate and help stop Mamdani before it's too late. This is the final stretch, and this episode is where we're going to lay it all out. The truth, the facts, and what's really coming if Mamdani takes City Hall. So let's get into it right now. Because New York's future is on the line, and this time, there's no sitting on the sideline. A new poll shows Zohran Mamdani, the socialist assemblyman from Queens, way out front. He's crushing Cuomo. He's beating Curtis Lewa. And on paper, it looks like he's unstoppable. But here's the reality. Almost 40% of the New Yorkers say he's a threat to the city's future. Think about that. The same guy leading the polls is also the one voters are most afraid of. Makes no sense. Even 1 in every 3 Democrats said he's a problem. And a quarter of New Yorkers say they'd pack up and leave if he wins. You don't see that kind of panic unless people truly believe the city is on the line. This isn't about the left versus the right anymore. It's about normal versus extreme. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mayor Eric Adams isn't going quietly. He's stacking the city's rent guidelines board with his own people before Mamdani can take office, trying to stop the socialist rent freeze plan dead in its tracks. The board controls the rent hikes for over 2 million apartments. If Mamdani had his way, landlords would be frozen out. Small property owners would go bankrupt, and the city's housing stock would collapse. So Adams is pulling a last-minute move, appointing new members who won't play ball with this radical. One rumor pick, Eleanor Surgo, the real estate broker turned Netflix star from selling the city. Adams wants people on that board who understand how the market actually works, not Marxist ideologies. It's shaping up to be a battle between landlords and a socialist mayor-to-be, and for once, Adams might be doing the right thing. But if you really want to understand who Zohran Mamdani is, you've got to look at where he comes from. His father, Mohammed Mamdani, whatever his name is, wrote a book and flat out blames America for inspiring the Nazi atrocities. This guy wrote a book about America's responsible for the Nazis. I'm not making this up. The book literally says Hitler learns his crimes from the United States. And he actually wrote this. And here's the kicker. That same book is dedicated to Zohran with the words, "Go out and change the world." That's the worldview shaping the man who wants to be the mayor of my great city, New York. Anti-Zionism, anti-capitalism, anti-Americanism. It all runs deep in the Mamdani family. And the media, they won't touch it. This isn't about religion. This is about ideology. When your biggest influence says the U.S. inspired the Nazis, you don't belong running America's greatest and largest city. Now let's talk about who's behind Mamdani's rise. There's a foreign intelligence report that ties his campaign to extreme figures, and it starts with this Linda Sarsour. Remember her? She's been accused of anti-Semitism and has defended radical figures and even praised people connected to terrorist groups. She's backed by Mamdani's very first race. She called him dear to my heart and helped shape his political path now. And this is what's worse. One of Mamdani's mentors was linked to this guy, Iman Saraj Wahigi. Sorry, I can't even pronounce it, but this is the guy who was the co-conspirator in the World Trade Center bombing of 1993 plot. So when people say Mamdani's campaign has dark corners, they're not exaggerating. His movement looks a lot more like infiltration, not inspiration. A few days ago, Mamdani stood in a Bronx mosque, breaking down in tears, claiming Como and Sliwa were attacking him with Islamophobia. He told a story about his so-called aunt, saying she was afraid to wear her hijab, whatever it's called, on the subway, and she feared everything. And that's what inspired him to hide his faith. That's a damn lie, but here's the truth. The woman he was talking about isn't even his aunt, and allegedly she's his father's cousin or some crap. He just lies and you don't know what he's saying. She wasn't even in America. She was in Tanzania when this took place, you damn liar. Look, nobody's attacking the Muslim religion. Not I or anybody. It's not about faith. It's about credibility. It's about the pattern of bending the truth and the company he keeps. Just days before that speech, he was photographed with that other scumbag, Imai Sajawubagwali. Siraj. I can't pronounce, and I really don't care. It's the same guy that was linked to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He then refused to condemn the anti-Semitic globalized the infidela. He says he's proud to be a Muslim mayor. I'm not against Muslim. I'm against terrorism, and I'm against the support of terrorists. Fine, be that, but be a good mayor for all New Yorkers. It's not about you being a good Muslim. It's about you being a good mayor to everybody, not just your movement. And that wasn't bad enough. Mamdani held a New York is not for sale rally in Forest Hills. His featured guest, Hassan Piker. That name sound familiar? He's the guy that once said, America deserved 9/11. You scumbag. I was down there. I had friends that were killed. People are dying to this day. The man running for mayor of New York City, the city that lived through 9/11, shared the stage with someone who said, we had it coming. You scumbag. You and him are the same. Como called it an insult to every New Yorker, and he's right. Hold on one second. Every fireman, every cop, every emergency, and the regular people are still dying from what happened that day. It shows you exactly who Mamdani stands with, and his campaign hasn't offered a single word to defend it. Now let's dive into his so-called idiot plans. Even the New York Post called Mamdani's campaign make-believe politics. He wants free city buses, even though half the riders don't even friggin' pay now. That alone would blow in the $800 million hole in the city budget. He wants to hike taxes by 59%, drive the rich and the job straight to Florida. Now let's try where we stop right there. He can't do this. He's got none of these powers. He's bullshitting everybody. And he's still out there chanting, defund the NYPD, you piece of garbage. That's not leadership. That's academic fantasy. You can't run a city of 8.5 million people on hashtags and handouts. The only thing that Mamdani's policy would accomplish is bankrupting New York City and forcing more working families out of the city. And here's the kicker. Almost every promise, like I just said, that he's made he has no legal power to enforce it. He's just saying what these young punk kids want to hear. Free this, free that, with no clue how to pay for any of it. And now he's talking tough to the police department. My alma mater. Mamdani says Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch will follow his lead, whether she likes it or not. He's telling the police commissioner what to do already, and he's not even a friggin' mayor. This is arrogance. Tisch has been one of the few voices left defending common sense, opposing bail reform, backing cops, calling out chaos. But Mamdani, he doesn't care. He wants to control. He doesn't want partnership. His message is clear. I'll be the mayor. She'll fall in line. Even former police commissioner Bill Bratton weighed in on this. He said Tisch could stay under Mamdani, but only if she's free to do a job. We know that ain't going to happen. Otherwise, she'll face the same hostility cops saw under de Blasio, and especially the CCRB thing. Now, when cops are going to be judged by the mayor, not even by the police commission to lose their jobs, this is going to be the end of it. Bratton said it straight. Real reform needs independence, not ideology. Mamdani City Hall will show us fast whether it's safety or politics first. And if his attacks on law enforcement couldn't go any lower, a 2023 video resurfaced showing Mamdani saying the NYPD boot on your neck is laced by the IDF. That's the Israeli Defense Forces. He made this stupid statement, this remark at a Democratic Socialist of America who support him. These are the commies at their convention. Critics called it vile, hateful, anti-Semitic, and conspiratorial. An insult to cops and an insult to the New York Jewish people alike. It adds more fuel to the outrage over his anti-Semitic rhetoric and shows again what kind of mayor he'd really be. And just when you think you can't get any stranger, photos show Mamdani smiling with communist Cuba UN delegations in the trip of 2024 trip to Albany. He and his socialist pals met Cuban officials, I guess to look at their communist badges, whatever they do, to push ending the U.S. embargo. While New Yorkers are fighting crime and rent spikes, this scumbag guy is playing diplomat with communists. Critics call it the Marxist playbook, and they're right. Every move, every alliance, every message coming out of his circle points to one thing: ideology over reality. A new investigative report from a forensic accountant, a friend of mine, Sam Antar, lays it out. Really troubling picture. The investigation uncovered how scumbag George Soros's so-called charitable network funneled over $40 million into political ground operation, backing Zohran Mamdani and other scumbag candidates like him. They admitted coordination in their own documents, and then they lied on their federal tax forms. This isn't sloppy bookkeeping. This is systemic fraud by professional political operatives who know exactly what they're doing. The Working Families Party owned their own memo from 2022 said they will coordinate independent in expenditures, which is flat out illegal. The Movement Voter Project brags about these supposedly independent groups as partners working in partnership. And for 5 years straight, Tides Advocacy, a 501c4, filed tax forms claiming zero related entities while quietly moving $30 million a year from its sister charities. Here's how this works. Soros Foundation, to promote open society, gives charities to 501c3s, which then convert that money into political operations through 501c4s. That way, the donors get a tax deduction for what's really political spending. You get it? It's a shell game, laundering politics through charity. These dollars funded 6 major groups. All of them endorsed Mamdani. All of them ran coordinated ground operations at the same time. We're talking about over 250,000 doors being knocked on, hundreds of thousands of letters, and massive volunteer armies, all pretending to be separate grassroots movements. Bullshit. While campaigns and PACs must report every donation expense, these 501c4s don't have to disclose anything. No donor names, no spending totals, no election filings. Taxpayers even help bankroll it. $52 million in federal grants went to the same network of charities behind these operations. This is a coordinated political machine hiding behind nonprofit paperwork. And there's even more trouble brewing for Mamdani's campaign finances. A watchdog group has filed criminal referrals to the Justice Department and to the Manhattan DAs, accusing the team of taking approximately $13,000 in illegal foreign contributions. Donations from overseas addresses in places like Dubai, France, Australia. The group says Mamdani's campaign ignored warnings for months. No charges yet. I hope they get put charges in. But pressure's mounting, and the timing couldn't be worse for Mamdani, with Election Day just days away. This isn't democracy. It's dark money in disguise. And you know what it's in disguise of? All for this socialist movement. For every one of these scumbag candidates, they want to take over New York City in America. New York deserve to know who's paying for the boots on the ground in their election. And you know what? New Yorkers are starting to fight back. Over 500,000 people have watched my videos on social media exposing Mamdani's fake policies and phony programs. And I've been breaking it all down in my pack. You go to my pack, anyone but Mamdani. Remember, it's nycabm.com. We've been telling the truth. And you know what? The news media won't touch it. Mamdani blames billionaires, blames Jewish groups, blames landlords. Always someone else's fault. He's not a uniter. He's a divider. He'll drive the rich and the business community out of this city. And then when they're all gone, he'll turn the poor and lower middle class against each other. That's the danger. Not just economic collapse, but social collapse. But here's the good news. People are showing up. Early voting is through the roof, up more than 500% compared to 2021 mayor race. After just 2 days, 164,000 people have already voted. That's just 5,000 shy of the entire early vote from the 2021 race. 30,000 more than the second day of the 2022 governor's race, and only 90,000 fewer than the 2024 presidential rate. That is unheard of for a local election. Here's what I think it tells us. The normal mayor turnout, about 1.1 million. Presidential turnout, about 2.8 million. Today, registration is up to 5.2 million voters, up nearly 1 million from 2024. And who's showing up? Women over 50. making up half of the increase in the turnout. Boomers and Gen X are flooding the polls, not Mamdani's crowd. They're telling us straight, we don't want Mamdani. It's up to us to stop him. So don't believe the damn polls or even the silence from the media. Experts say the great news for Cuomo and terrible news for socialist frontrunner Mamdani is older voters with brains are wide awake, and Mamdani's base is falling in sleep. And in the new Suffolk poll, it proves it. Mamdani's once 20% point lead has been cut in half. Now it's 44 to 34. Cuomo's surging fast. Slee was holding at 11% and splitting the anti-Mamdani vote. Older moderate voters are driving Cuomo's comeback. We got to remember, please, I love Curtis, but the only one that can win is Andrew Cuomo. So I'm sorry, Curtis. I need people to vote for Andrew Cuomo because we can't let this communist socialist take our city. The race just got real. Even the New York Post weighed in with a powerful editorial. They said it straight. Only voters can prevent a Mamdani catastrophe. So where does that all leave us, New York? We've got a radical frontrunner with extreme ties, fantasy economics, and a movement that's more dangerous than people want to admit. This isn't about party lines anymore. It's about whether we still have a city worth fighting for. We can't afford to sleep through this election. My family, my life has been in New York City. I love this city. I implore you, tell everybody, vote for Cuomo. Please, at least get rid of this Mamdani. If you care about your neighborhood, your safety, your job, your rent, it's time to speak up. Vote. Get involved. And I tell you what, one thing, don't let apathy hand this city over to the radicals. New York's been through this hell before. We always come back stronger. 9/11, we went bankrupt because you know why? People stood up when it mattered most. And now this is one of these moments. You know something? My family, my children, my business, I was a detective, I was a decoy. I gave my blood for the city. I'm begging you, keep New York City as the greatest city in the world. And the only one that can do it right now is Andrew Cuomo. This Mamdani guy will destroy this city as we know. Please tell everyone, get out and vote. Do not vote for Mamdani. Please save our city. Thank you so much.